Hello again, everyone. It's Charles, back with another episode of America the Beautiful. This week, we're going to be more focused on and explore more in depth what it was like to live in Poland right before the communist regime fell. So hold on to your seats. This can get pretty intense. So without further ado, let's hear what Mark has to say and let's hear what it was like to live in communist Poland.
There was no politics. It was only one communist party. So when I was growing up as a kid, I heard stories. I first grew up in country, then I lived in the city. But I heard stories right after Second World War. There were secret police walking up to your house and listening if you were making jokes, political jokes or whatever. And some families would just disappear. The whole family would be taken out. It was severe for some time. And then later, as some countries like Hungary, I think it was in the 60s, they started to protest against communism and all the corruption that was going on. And seeing that it was really not beneficial for people to live in that kind of oppression and dictatorships. And so definitely we had access to some, it was radio that would have you could find on long ways and AM radio from Switzerland or some was a Polish radio, Free Poland, and they would talk against communism and, sowing seeds. But those stories, I had some interaction when I was a teenager with police. We saw when they did country lockdown, and it was early 80s, the uprising with Valenza and stuff against communism. And those people were actually dying. I saw police and military vehicles on the streets, and there was curfew. You couldn't walk out during the winter. It was actually pretty bad winter that year. I was in high school, and we would, now you start thinking about freedom that is just limited and taken from people. And I would go and, as a young person, I would actually go and throw rocks on police. And it was different, not a different name, but it was it's called militia. So last 5 years, as I remember, living in communism, I'm telling some friends when they ask about how was it. So I said, imagine biggest grocery store, like Publix or whatever grocery store you have, like the biggest one. And as you walk in, and now you see shelves and everything. So imagine all the registers are gone, all the shelves are pushed to the walls. They're obviously all empty. And at the far end, there is a small counter with one lady, maybe a couple bags of salt and a couple bottles of vinegar. And that was it. Sometimes once a week, or sometimes there was something would be brought in, so there'd be a line of people already waiting. Obviously, buy bread or whatever would come in, and it was terrible. I mean, you had to wait hours to people would know there's something coming, and they would just line up, and you would not ask. You would just get in line, and then you ask, "What are you guys waiting for?" "We don't know. We'll know tomorrow." And sometimes that was a couple of days you had to wait, and obviously they would allow you to go home, get sleep or get changed, but people would stand in lines, and that was the daily living. There was nothing in the stores. Obviously people were working, everything somehow, but there was nothing on shelves. So money would lose value incredible fast. Last year, I mean, month to month, it would lose high percentage. I know that when I started working, I was making about $9 a month. Bread would cost probably 8 cents. So that would last for a whole month for food. You still had to find money for rent, which would need probably this much. Later, within 6 months, that was only last for 2 weeks of food. and it was worse and worse. So it was really, as a young father. I had a one son, 2-year-old, and one was 1 month old. I did not see future for family. It was just terrible. Like seeing that you cannot have anything, just basic things. People would protest or anything, they would just locked up in prisons and things like that. It was just, we had 2 channels of TVs, and everything was indoctrinated with communist stuff. And amazing culture shock, even to Germany. It's huge, going through borders. I don't know anybody know the experience. We had concrete, it was about a mile border, so there was nothing, and there were fences and then concrete blockades on the road that had to be pulled over, hours of wait to get through to the checkpoints. And it was definitely culture shock, walking in and seeing stores full of food, stores full of clothes to buy, and you just needed money. So it was definitely shocking, and as I saw in movies, and I was hoping for, to be able to raise family and just live peaceful life.
Hey guys, I'm back. Well, that was an intense story, wasn't it? I can't even imagine what it must have been like to live under those kind of conditions. But you know what? Stay tuned, because we're going to hear some more from Mark next week. Next week, we're going to explore a little bit more what it was like for Mark to grow up in Poland. But on top of that, Mark is also going to provide a unique perspective on life in America today. And he's got a heartfelt message for you guys. So stay tuned, check out next week's video, and we'll see you then. And by the way, don't forget, help me get the word out about these videos. Make sure to like and subscribe or follow, depending on what media you're seeing this on. But make sure you do that and help me get the word out about these videos. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.